This is Chris Mitchell from CBN News, and I'm at a very, very special place. I would say this is really a sacred place here in Jerusalem and Israel. It's Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Museum, and it's really sad here to see that because of the COVID pandemic, really nobody's coming here to Israel. And this is really a very, very important place for people and tourists from around the world to come. And I want to introduce you to some very special people. And first is Sarai Granitza. She is the director of Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, and we've known each other for many years, and it's great to see you again. And you have a special person to introduce to us.
Correct. So thank you, Chris, for coming.
Yeah.
Shaya Ben Yehuda, who has been with us for many, many years, the director of the International Relations Division, is about to retire, and we would like to hear him before he leaves us. Shaya was one of the founders of the Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, and to hear his message today is extremely important.
Hello, my dear friends around the world, all our Christian friends around the world. It's really an honor, first of all, Chris, to meet you again. We know each other for many years.
Yeah.
And I think what I would like to share with you today is what I thought is one of the missions that I took upon myself when I came to Yad Vashem some 22 years ago. But working together with the Christian world. So I would like to go with you to the Avenue of the Righteous among the nations and to open my visit there with you. So please join me to the Avenue of the Righteous among the nations.
So we're here just past the entrance of Yad Vashem, and as Shaya said, we're at the Avenue of the Righteous. Shaya,
Among the nations.
Among the nations. Why is this so important?
Righteous among the nations are non-Jews who put their own life in risk in order to try and help Jews during the Holocaust. They were not bystanders, they didn't turn their back, they didn't cooperate, they didn't collaborate. They have decided that they will come forward and will try to be active. When we build the new museum, we have decided that which we will have actually two parallel passes. One is the Avenue of the Righteous among the nations, and one is the bridge that takes us to the museum. One represents the good deeds, and one represents the bad deeds. And this is in the book of Deuteronomy what we learn about two passes in life, that one should make decision. We have always to make decision in life, which path do we walk.
Shaya, before we go there, tell us why is the lesson of the Avenue of the Righteous, why is that lesson so important in these days right now?
The lesson of the righteous is so important today as in any generation, because it's always a question for each individual. What do you do when you have to make your own decisions? What path do you choose? Do you choose a path of righteousness? Do you choose a path that is represented by the image of the Lord? Or you choose the path of evil? And it can be a decision in small scale or in big scale. When you have your poor neighbor, when you have see atrocity in the street, what do? Do you turn your back, or you stand there and say, no, I am going to stand forward and to help? And I think what we learn from this Avenue of the Righteous among the nations, that people can make difference. And this is a challenge of each of us, to ask ourselves how we can make difference, how we can improve the world.
Shaya, we're here in the museum. Tell us where we start here in the museum to tell the story of the Holocaust.
We start here actually listening to children, Jewish children in Munkach, 1938, singing Hatikva. And whenever I see it, I have tears in my eyes. because when you see those children that most of them didn't survive, you understand what was the Jewish world before the Holocaust, what happened to the Jewish world. Then you understand what is our responsibility to learn, to understand, to teach, and to ensure it will not be forgotten. And this is a presentation about Jewish life before the Holocaust and how Jews lived before the Holocaust. We don't have time to see the entire magnificent presentation, but let's stand here for another few seconds just to see how Jews lived before. They lived in diversity, in different places. They tried to integrate. They tried to be part of their societies. They tried to contribute. Some of them contributed tremendously. However, it didn't help them. They were all sent to death. Please follow me. The chapter in Psalm that is coming to my mind is chapter 130 in the book of Psalms. Shir LaMa'alot, a song of ascents. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to the voice of my pleas for mercy. We come here and we start crying. We cry for what happened to humanity, what happened to those who were created by the image of Lord, that they forgot that they were created by the image of Lord and they have decided to take life of others. One of the reasons that brought me to Yad Vashem, because I was born as a young Israeli after the Holocaust, and I was born to a family that lost a lot of her members during the Holocaust. And I always asked myself, can we overcome this terrible event? Can we build back trust in humanity? Can we build trust with Christian world? And that's what I would like to share with you through the museum. My mother was born in Germany. She grew up before Hitler came to power. But she witnessed what happened in Germany when Hitler came to power. She witnessed how this atrocity was developed. She saw how Jews were taken out of schools, how they were not able to be part of the society anymore. She saw the ideology, and she saw how her father was not able to continue to keep his business in Germany anymore. On 1938, on November, in Kristallnacht, my mother lived across the street from the Gestapo headquarters, and in the other side, the Jewish synagogue in Breslau, where she was born. Today it's Wroclaw. And this synagogue was burned and destroyed on Kristallnacht. And as a child, I grew up with this story, which I heard it from, I think, when I was 4 years old. I heard it again and again, how the synagogue was burned, how they came and took my grandfather from home, first to the Gestapo headquarters, and then Buchenwald came. When my grandfather came back, he was so sick that the family couldn't recognize him anymore. So I left feeling that the Jews don't have friends anywhere in the world. We are at the Warsaw Ghetto Gallery. I'm reminded by the uncle and aunt of my mother. Her uncle was taken as soon as the German came. He was taken from home because he was one of the Jewish leaders. He was a very wealthy man, and he was arrested immediately and was murdered. His name was Harry Temple. His wife, Lee, was taken to the Warsaw Ghetto when the ghetto was built on October 1940, and later on perished. We don't know where. Maybe she was taken, like most of the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto, to Treblinka.
Shaya, first of all, I wanted to say, walking through here, it's just so moving. What happened, it's almost hard to believe that it really happened as horrific as it did. These pictures, these people, these lives that have been lost, it's just horrific. So that's I'm sure the typical reaction of people who walk through here, this museum, and literally going from where we began in the museum here, the Holocaust just got progressively worse and worse.
As years moved forward, reality got worse and worse for the Jews. And here we see the story, a little bit of the story of what happened on summer 1941 when the mass murder started. With the Barbarossa offensive on 1941, the German and their partners, their collaborators, and the Einsatzgruppen that follow the armed units of Germany, they have started with the mass murders. And you ask yourself, what crime this baby did? The only crime that he was born as a Jewish child. When we look on those photos and we look who was sitting there, who was sitting around the table in the Wannsee conference, we see that among them were doctors, were pastors, and we have to ask ourselves how those people could participate in this crime, how they took the decision to destroy life, how they have decided that the Jews are subhuman that have no right to exist. And following this conference, the Wannsee conference, the final solution was implemented. Jews were sent to the death camps. Jews were sent death camps that were created by the Nazis in order to kill all the Jews. We look at the Auschwitz model, a gas chambers and a crematorium in Birkenau. The first room in the left side where the Jews were taken in, they were walked to the gas chamber. They had to undress. Then they were put in the second room where they were gassed, and after half an hour they were all dead, and then other Jews had to take them up and to put them in the oven when they were totally burned. My father never spoke about what happened, what he saw, what he witnessed. He never spoke about his family. He lost most of his family. But he only said what his father told him when they were about to go back to Germany and Austria. He said, "You may want to take revenge. However, revenge is only for the Lord." Because my grandfather understood that human being cannot take decisions about life of anyone else. And therefore, my father said, I never participated in any revenge. I just went to see in Europe how I can help those survivors.
Shaya, this has been really moving. Tell us why we're here. What is so special about this gallery?
This gallery is telling us about how the survivors rebuilt their life after the Holocaust. And if there is a miracle, is how the survivors found the power, the energy to come out of this terrible time and to rebuild their life. How they first got married, and how later on they came to the state of Israel, or to Palestine at that time, and helped to establish a Jewish state.
After the war, survivors. What do we mean when we say survivors? It's one from a family, two from a town, and they tried to rebuild their life. But that took so much strength from within to forge ahead, to go forward, not only to look backwards, yes, always to remember, but to understand that they have to rebuild Jewish life. And in order to do so, they had to get married. And in the displaced persons camps that were built in Germany, they found each other. Young men courted young women. All of a sudden, they weren't alone anymore. JDC sent different things to these camps in Germany to help the survivors. One of the things they sent is the canopy, or what we call in Hebrew, the chuppah. In Jewish tradition, people, the young couple, get married under a canopy. It's a symbol of a home, also open from the four sides, like the tent of Abraham that was open for guests. And we are wishing this young couple who is building their life that their home will be a home for all their guests, for people to come in. In these DP camps, in the displaced persons camps, many couples got married in one day, and later on, like 9 months later, there were many births on that day. And then these people, many of them, tried to make their way back to the land of Israel. I can tell you from my personal family that my father-in-law and my mother-in-law were in a DP camp in Italy, where their firstborn child was born, my oldest sister-in-law, and then they tried to reach the land of Israel in 47. They were caught by the English army. They were not allowed in, and they were sent to Cyprus. We're talking about 2 years after the war. The Western civilized world already knew what happened to the Jewish people, and still there's no homeland for them. And again, they're being sent to camps with barbed wires and watch guards, unbearable circumstances. Only in 48, with the Declaration of Independence, were they allowed to come in. So these survivors came at the end to the land of Israel.
When we look here at Ben Gurion declaring the independence of the state of Israel, we understand what is a real miracle that happened to the Jewish people, how the state of Israel was created, how we managed to build a place for the Jewish people. This is a hall of names where we keep the record of each of the individuals who perished during the Holocaust. Yad Vashem has collected till today 4.8 million names of the 6 million people who perished during the Holocaust. And this place was created in order to give us a deep understanding of what happened. 600 images representing the 6 million Jews who perished during the Holocaust, babies, children, elderly, religious, non-religious, all places in Europe. And those names are reflected here in the lower cone. Their memory is connected to the eternity of Jerusalem, the capital of the Jewish state. And we shall keep their memory forever. And we shall remember them one by one.
Why is the lesson of the Holocaust never again so important in today's world as well? And what should we remember?
You know, after the war, the survivors thought we'll never have to talk about anti-Semitism again. But as time passed, I can quote at least one Holocaust survivor, very well known, Professor Elie Wiesel, Nobel Prize winner, who said, I made a mistake. I thought we'll never have to talk about anti-Semitism, but unfortunately we see anti-Semitism rising in the world. We all know where anti-Semitism, or hatred in large, starts. We never know where it ends. We're also commanded in the Bible to always remember, because we always have to look backwards, to remember where we come from, what happened, to make sure that the world would be a better place. And that's why we have to teach ourselves. We weren't there when it happened, but we have to learn, and it is our responsibility as second and third generation to pass on the torch, because the survivors and those who perished asked in a lot of places, never forget. Don't forget us.
What is the lesson today because of the anti-Semitism that's still in the world today?
To stand up and not to be quiet. Wherever you see atrocity, wherever you see anti-Semitism or any other hatred, please stand up and make your voice. And sometimes voice is not enough. You have to be active in order to stop those atrocities and teach and educate and ensure that youth are being taught today about what is expected from each of us, what the Lord expects each of us. Therefore, righteous of today's are those who will ensure that atrocity will not continue. Atrocity has to be minimized to ensure that the future will be different. And I would like to conclude the visit here by saying that we all learned at the book of Genesis, by the end of creation, that God created humanity. God created mankind. And we never forget this message. We are not allowed to forget it. As long as we remember that we were all created by the image of Lord, we understand our responsibility to build a common future. This is our challenge. So I would like to invite all of you, whenever you can, to come to visit Yad Vashem, to be partner of this place, to join this place, and to support the Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, and ensure that together the message from Yad Vashem will go all over the world. And thank you for joining me today in this special visit here at Yad Vashem.